Hey everybody, it's Gail, and today I have this fabulous 1960s sheath dress to show you. This comes to us from a Columbia Minerva booklet, and this is one of 5 dresses in the booklet, and they're all, they're all clearly, you're supposed to make them to wear to the office sort of dresses. The moment I saw them, I was like, those are Mad Men dresses. Like, that's exactly what they are. And so I chose to make this one first because when you look at the photograph of all of the dresses, this is the only photograph of the dresses in the whole booklet. The green one is the only one where the model is sort of reclined, which makes it hard to get a sense of exactly how it's going to drape. And so I thought that's a good one to start with. And I was right. I really enjoyed it. It is a front, a back, sleeves, and trim. And the way that this works is you work it from the bottom up, and you work raglan decreases for the armholes, and then the sleeve is made so that it sews into place and becomes the top of the shoulder, rather than a set-in sleeve where you would build the shoulder piece and then the sleeve would sort of tuck in. And this was a great one. This is made in sport weight. The original was made out of wool. This is made from BC Garn Allino, which is a cotton linen blend. I got it from Hobby. You use an F hook. It took me 11 skeins, which is about 1,600 yards. And it really was a very easy one, which I'm really glad about because I did have to do an adjustment on it. And I've had a lot of patterns that I have had to adjust to fit over various parts of my bodies for a long time. But right now, because we got the upper half taken care of almost 2 years ago now as I'm filming this, the big problem when I'm working with vintage patterns is that the idea of how much hip you were supposed to have back in the day and the amount of hip I actually have are very different numbers. And so this is identified as size 18 to 20 in vintage sizing in the pattern. And back then, in the 1960s, a size 20 was a 41-inch hip. And I have a 46 or 48-inch hip. I don't know. I got a lot of ass. So I had to figure out how to do the increases. And like I said, I've done increases on a bunch of other stuff. And so having to do the increases themselves, not a big deal. Having to figure out how to do them in the pattern stitch so that I have this nice smooth sheath look, while keeping about the same amount of positive ease as I have through the rest of the dress, that was a little trickier. But I figured it out, and I'm going to tell you what I did. So what I did, first of all, was figured out, like, the way this pattern works. You work a row of double crochet, and then you work the join double crochet, and then that is your pattern repeat all the way up. So I knew that, and I knew that I had 9 stitches for every 2 inches to work with. So the first thing I did was take 9 stitches and make it 8 stitches, because it's much easier to increase and decrease if you're working with even numbers, because then when you're spacing them, you can usually put them at the start and the end of a row, and not have to worry that it's going to be slightly off kilter on one end or the other. And so what I did on the double crochet rows where I needed the increase was I added 2 stitches per cluster. So the way that you work the double crochet stitches is you work 1 double crochet, and then you work 2 in the join, and then repeat that across. And so every place I was supposed to, so in certain places, not every place, in certain places where I was supposed to put 2 double crochet, I put 4. And so that gave me about ½ an inch on either end every time I did that. And then I would work the row of join double crochets without doing any increases outside of just working the join double crochets. The increased number of regular double crochets made the if you working across in the pattern for the join double crochets, it just worked straight across, and you had a couple of extra joins when you were done. And then to decrease, what I did was when I came in to work the join double crochets, because if you look here, you can see that the double crochets are skipping 2 stitches, and that is the pattern. You skip the 2 stitches when you're doing the join double crochet. What I did was, for however many extra double crochets I added, I then made sure to work slightly larger join double crochets. So if I'd added, let's say I added 4 double crochets, one on one end, one on the other, in the on my previous increase, and I needed to decrease, what I would do then is work a join double crochet over 4 stitches on one side and over 4 stitches on the other, and then what that would do is remove that increase. And if this is making you kind of shake your head because you don't want to have to stand here and rewind this video trying to make this dress with my notes, I have written all of this down. It is on my website. I will link in the basement to the exact post where I explain this. I will have a copy of the pattern there that you can use. It will actually be a pattern for all 5 dresses, because, I mean, in order to have you just have the green dress that you can then do the increases on, I would have to type out the green dress pattern, and it's not very long, but I can't get it to, I don't trust Adobe's ability when it comes to making patterns readable. Like where you take it, it's OCR, I can't think of what the C stands for. But the idea, some of you have probably done it before, but like when you have a searchable PDF where you can like type a word and it will show you where it is in the PDF, there's a thing that you have to do to make that happen. And I find that software can be a bit iffy. And I also find my own ability to transcribe crochet patterns like this can be a bit iffy. And so I would rather just give you the pattern in its original form, and then have my notes be part of the post, and then you have all the parts there to put together and hopefully make yourself a lovely dress. The reason I'm not wearing it to show it off to you is because it's fucking cold here still. But I do have a couple of photos. So here's one of me standing up in it, and you can see, you know, the positive ease and the way it drapes. It's very nice. And then also here's one of me sitting in it, because when you are dealing with something that skims the body like this, I think it's important to know what it's going to look like when you sit down. Is it going to puddle, or is it, otherwise going to be kind of bulky? And what it did was it folded over at the waist very nicely, and looks very good. I've worn this a few times. It's very comfortable. And the last thing I'll say is this trim is not the trim in the pattern photo. The pattern photo, you're supposed to go out and buy this ball fringe trim like you would get in, the lace aisle at Joann's. And what I did instead was I took a sport weight yarn and I just crocheted something that looked kind of similar, and I think it came out really good. I like it a lot. And you would not think that this little touch here makes such a difference, or that little touch there, but it makes a huge difference. It really does shape the dress differently. And the instructions for how to do this instead of getting the ball fringe are also on my website. Also, go ahead, if you're the type to sew, go ahead, get the ball fringe, have a great time. But I was like, I got more yarn I could use, let's just do that. Very last thing is, when I made this dress and did the increases and the decreases, I put them all on the back of the dress. And I did that because this dress is worked in one big rectangle with no increases or decreases until you get up to the raglan armholes. And I thought, do I want to do evenly spaced increases and decreases on the front and the back, or do I just want to do them all on one side, and then the second piece I make can just be the front? And I decided that I would prefer to do that. Now what it did, I don't know how well you can see it, but I'm gonna trace the seam for you, and you can see with the way my hand is moving that the seam shifts a little bit over my hips, which is where the increases are. There is a bit of a curve here. Now, you can't see it, not really, but I know it's there. If you're a perfectionist, like I try very hard not to be, although I don't manage it some of the time, that might annoy you. And so what you want to do in that case is figure out how much extra space you'll need, and then split it evenly between the front and the back, and just make a note of which rows you do your increases and your decreases on, so that they will be in the same spot on the front and the back, and you'll have the same result that I did, which is it will fit, it will be comfortable, it will look super cute, and you can show it off to all your friends. And that is, I think that's the video for today, everybody. There were no mistakes in the pattern. It's very easy to follow. I think it's one of those like nice stitches that looks really pretty, and like just, I would love this in just a bunch of jewel tones. Very, very, Joan Harris of me. Joan Holloway? I forget what her married name was, but I don't want to use it because her husband was an ass. That's a Mad Men reference, for those of you who might not know. Anyway, the only difference between this dress and a dress that Joan wore on Mad Men is that I can breathe in this dress. And I am surprised Joan could breathe in most of what she wore. She looked fantastic. No notes. Anyway, if you enjoy what I do here, please like, subscribe, share, tell your friends, all of that fun stuff. And I will see you when I see you.